Welcome to the instructional video on how to put wheels, axles, bearings, and screw eyes onto your dragster. The items you see in front of you are necessary to complete this task, and it's pretty easy actually. What you'll need are two axles. These are axle rods. You'll need two of them, one for the front, one for the back. You'll need 4 bearings, or in this case brass washers. You're going to need 2 screw eyes. These screw eyes are so that when we are racing on the lines, the fishing line will go through the screw eyes that are they'll be underneath the car, and the fishing line will go through the screw eyes, so that when the cars race down the hallway, they don't come off the track. It's pretty basic. You'll need 1 screw eye for the front of the car, 1 screw eye for the back of the car. You'll need 2 front wheels. You'll need 2 back wheels. Your block of wood, which my demonstration block of wood is colored already. Yours will not be. You are not allowed to color your car until after your weight has been approved. Your weight can only be approved when you have wheels, axles, and bearings on it, so therefore, since we haven't completed that yet, your car will still be plain without any color on it. And then, of course, you're going to need pliers. So we're going to start real quick with the back wheels first. We'll need 1 axle rod and your back wheel. We just stick the axle rod into the hole there, and then we'll use a specific part of the pliers, and it's right here, this round area, this flat spot. You're going to tap down the axle into the hole. Now you don't want to hit too hard, because if you hit too hard, you slam it down, it might actually go through the wheel, and you'll see that axle coming right through the wheel, and that's not going to help you. It's actually going to add more weight to your car, and we're trying to lose the weight of the car. So you don't want to do that. So don't hit it too hard. Just tap it down, and eventually you'll feel resistance where you can't tap anymore, and you'll actually hear the sound of it get louder. And you could hear it get louder there, and just check to see if you've gone through, and you haven't. And then you'll take a brass washer. You put the washer on. Now the washers are there to reduce any friction when the wheels are spinning against the wood. So you're reducing the friction so that there's more freedom to spin, therefore the wheels will go faster, and speed is what you're looking at. So now that I have that, I'm going to go to my next side of this, and what I want to do is I just want to snip off about 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch at most, but just a little bit off of the end of this axle. And we're going to use another specific part of the pliers. This is the hammer part that we just used. Then there's the snips, and then there's a grip. So on this pliers there's a grip part and then a snipper part. We're going to use the snipper part, and we're going to take off about 1/16 of an inch off of the axle. Once we get it lined up, we'll snip it just to show you what I got rid of. That's all you really need. That's a little bit more than 1/16 of an inch. And then you'll take your next brass washer, you just put that one on. And then your next wheel. Now when you put the wheels on, you got to make sure that you're not hitting the wheels down. Once the wheel goes on, you'll take 2 wheels and you'll squeeze them together. So you can't squeeze them anymore. And you should have a little bit of space. That's okay if you don't have space, as long as it's not too tight against your car, but a little bit of space is perfect. And then just spin them, and make sure that they spin, and they're spinning. Now we go to the front wheels. Same thing as the back, just one slight change, which we'll talk about. Axle again into the hole with the hammer part of your pliers. You'll hit down. Brass washer. And you'll stick it through the axle hole in the front now. Now when it gets to the part that you're going to cut off, here's the difference. Before we only snipped a little bit off of it. This is what we snipped off. Now we're going to actually snip off a whole lot more here. Got to make sure that the wheels are all the way against the side, and that whatever's coming out of here, you want to snip off about half of that. So we're just going to pick a spot in the middle, and you can eyeball it, just guess, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's somewhere in the middle. And when you get that, you will snap it. It should look, you'll snip it, it should look like this. So that's about as much as you want to snip off. And then you'll just snip it, and this is the difference between the two pieces that I just snipped. So you can see that's the front wheels and that's the back wheels. So I snipped off quite a bit more there. And then you'll do the same thing as we did before, putting another washer on there to reduce the friction. And then take your next wheel and you'll squeeze that wheel together. And then just make sure that it spins, which it does, and make sure you're rolling, which it does. Now the only thing I have left, get those out of the way, are my screw eyes. So I will flip it over. And now I have holes that are already in here from previous lessons, but I can make a new hole. Basically what you want is to have the small screw eye in the front of the car and the longer screw eye in the back of the car. And the place that you want to position them is somewhere in the middle of the car, either right in front or right behind the axle. If you screw it in on the axle itself, you'll end up screwing right to the axle, and then the wheels won't be able to spin because there'll be a screw eye hitting the axle. So we want to make sure it's in the front or behind. Very easy. So I'll make a new hole here. And you're going to add pressure as you screw it into it. And there is a point where you need to stop it. And that point is when the screw eye is in enough so that it doesn't hit the table. We don't want it to hit the table. So it should just miss the table. And I'm actually still hitting the table here. Let me just screw it a couple more times. Okay, and now that I have that, just to show you what it looks like, you can see that I'm missing the table there, which is great because that's what I want to do. I don't want to hit the table because that'll cause friction, and friction slows us down. And then I'll do the same thing with the back screw eye. I'm going to pick a spot. Now this is a little bit different. Here we have a CO2 cartridge hole, so the hole where we're going to put our power supply in there, and that goes in about 2 inches deep. So we want to make sure that we measure 2 inches, and then after we measure the 2 inches, we can put the screw eye, either right in front or right behind the axle hole. And in this case, I'll just put it in front. And again, I will screw it in until the head of the screw eye misses the table. And we don't want to just miss the table again because once again we don't want friction. I'm hitting. And now I'm good. Let's double check. And it looks like I'm missing. Yep, I'm missing. So we're good. And now I am 100% complete. And I have a car with wheels, axles, bearings, and screw eyes all set up. And that's the end of the lesson.